Let me take you back 4 years. I was just 24 when my mother died of breast cancer. It wasn't a surprise, but it shattered me. My grandmothers had died of the same thing. It felt like I was next in line, just waiting. A screening confirmed my worst fear. I had potentially cancerous cells in my breast tissue. High risk, aggressive. The doctors gave me choices, none of them easy. Wait and hope. Chop off one breast. Or go full nuclear and get both removed. I chose the nuclear option, a bilateral mastectomy. No more breast tissue, no more silent countdown clock in my chest. They told me the scars would be minimal. They lied. They were angry, pink, jagged. They didn't look like battle wounds. They looked like mutilation. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw death winning. Depression swallowed me whole. I threw out my mirrors. I skipped work. I couldn't even cry anymore, just existed in this shell of grief and shame. My therapist, bless her, suggested a plastic surgeon just to ask about scar reduction. Creams, lasers, reconstruction. The creams didn't work. The laser was risky and expensive. That left implants. My natural size had been if I asked for something smaller, just enough to feel whole again. And for the first time in over a year, I felt human. I could breathe. I could stand naked in the mirror and not sob. It wasn't about vanity, it was about survival, about taking something back. Fast forward to the present. I'm 28, confident, alive, working in an office job that finally feels stable. That's when I met Jill. Jill was the type who always hovered around gossip like a fly near rotting fruit. I'd never spoken to her much, but one day, while planning a holiday with an old friend during lunch, my friend joked, "You'll have to declare those implants at airport security." Jill overheard. Her eyes lit up like she'd found a golden ticket. By the end of that day, the whole office knew I'd had a boob job. What they didn't know was why. Over the next few months, Jill turned my body into her personal comedy set. Comments like, "She's got more plastic than Barbie," "fake in more ways than one," and the one that finally made me snap, from someone else, "She called you a sack of silicone." I asked her to stop, repeatedly, in the bathroom, in the lift, always away from cameras, always where she could deny it later. 3 months, 3 insults a week. That's over 30 jabs about something she knew nothing about. And then came the lunchroom incident. We were chatting about something, can't even remember what, when I said something was shallow. Jill, without missing a beat, gestured to my chest and said, "You'd know all about being shallow." The laughter stopped, the air cracked with silence. I stared at her, heart racing, and I snapped. "Do you know why I have these?" I asked, loud and clear. 4 years ago, I had potentially cancerous cells in my breasts. I watched my mom die of the same thing, so I got both removed. I had huge, jagged scars on my chest that made me want to vomit when I looked at myself. A therapist referred me to a surgeon. I got implants to hide the scars, so I could function like a normal human being again. So before you decide to judge someone for cosmetic surgery, maybe ask why they had it. And I walked out with my lunch. The rest of the day was chaos. Some coworkers came up to me, teary-eyed, supportive. Others, cold, defensive. Jill was just joking. They said, "You were being dramatic." That evening, I got the email. HR wanted to speak with me. Hostile work environment, it said. I laughed, bitterly. Jill had struck first, hiding behind corporate language like a shield. Debbie from HR had sent the email. Jill's bestie. I knew right then if I didn't fight this smart, I was done. I remembered my contract had a clause. Something about conflict of interest. I dug it up. Right to request an impartial overseer during HR investigations if a conflict of interest exists. Perfect. Then I messaged the coworkers who had shown support. I explained. Jill reported me. HR wants to talk. If you've ever heard her insult me and are willing to write a statement, please help. Not everyone was brave enough. Jill had allies, but 16 people came through, printed, signed statements. Some even bullet-pointed every nasty comment Jill had ever made about me. Someone's weight, someone else's nose, anti-Semitic comments. It was worse than I thought. I also wrote down every time I'd asked Jill to stop, when it happened, who might have heard at 10 a.m. sharp. I walked into HR with my little folder of evidence. Debbie met me at the door. "You'll be with me," she said coolly. I smiled politely. "Actually, per my contract, I'm requesting an impartial overseer." She blinked. I pulled out the page, highlighted clause. showed it but didn't let her touch it. The shredder was right behind her. I can be impartial, she insisted. But you're friends with the person filing the complaint, I replied. That's a conflict. She stomped off. A supervisor came in, asked what the issue was. I explained. He turned to Debbie. Are you friends with Jill? Her answer? I can be impartial. He didn't look convinced. A second HR rep joined. All four of us sat down to review the case. Debbie looked murderous, but the evidence spoke louder than any grudge. I laid it all out. The medical context, the insults, the signed statements, the witnesses, even the security camera location for the lunchroom exchange. They grilled me, repeated questions, tried to poke holes. My answers stayed steady. .com. Factual. I ended with, Jill didn't know about the cancer, but it's not her business. I shouldn't have to broadcast my trauma to be treated with basic human decency. They sent me back to my desk. I sat there, numb, refreshing my email. One by one, my witnesses were called in. First, the lunchroom witnesses, then the people who wrote letters. Jill wasn't called until almost everyone else had gone in. She came back red-faced, muttering curses under her breath. She glared at me like I'd stabbed her dog. Half an hour later, she got called again. 5 p.m. The office was packing up. That's when Jill came storming back in carrying a cardboard box and righteous fury. She got me fired, she hissed to anyone who'd listen, all because she can't take a joke. I didn't say a word. She slammed the lift button and disappeared. Minutes later, an email pinged HR. My case was officially closed. You never know what someone's been through, but if you decide to make their pain your punchline, don't be surprised when karma hits back harder than you ever expected. Jill tried to weaponize my scars. She walked away unemployed. I walked away empowered. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And hi, if you love stories where karma hits hard, subscribe. We've got more justice coming your way.